What if I told you that KRATOS'S story is over? Not ended, not forgotten, but complete. The Ghost of Sparta has broken his cycle. He's found peace, purpose, and a better way. But his son, Atreus, the boy who became Loki, the last of the giants, his journey is just beginning. And everything Santa Monica Studio has shown us points to one inevitable truth. The next god of war won't be KRATOS'S game. It'll be Loki's. Today, we're diving deep into why Atreus is destined to be the protagonist of the next god of war, what that means for gameplay, story, and the mythology Santa Monica is building, and why this might be the most ambitious direction they've ever taken. This is Myth Mode. Let's break it down. Let's start with the most important moment, the ending of God of War Ragnarok. After the dust settles, after Odin falls and the prophecy is subverted, Atreus makes a choice. He leaves. Not out of anger or rebellion, but out of purpose. He sets out to find the remaining giants, to discover who he really is, to understand his role as Loki in a world no longer bound by fate. And KRATOS lets him go. This moment is seismic. For 2 entire games, KRATOS's arc has been about learning to let go, to trust, to break the cycle of gods controlling their children. The Greek saga was about a father failing his daughter. The Norse saga is about a father succeeding with his son. KRATOS doesn't chain Atreus to his side. He doesn't force him to stay. He gives him the one thing KRATOS never had, freedom. But here's what makes this ending so important for the future. Atreus' story is wide open. KRATOS's arc is resolved. He's the god of war who chose peace. He's the father who broke the cycle. He's found his place in the 9 realms as a protector, a mentor, a symbol of change. Atreus, though, he's barely scratched the surface. The giants are scattered, hidden, perhaps even in other mythologies. Loki's role in the greater cosmology is still undefined. His powers are developing. His identity is split between the boy raised by KRATOS and the trickster god of prophecy. There are entire realms we haven't explored, pantheons we haven't touched, and a giant heritage that remains almost completely mysterious. From a narrative perspective, Atreus' journey is the next chapter. It's not a side story. It's the story. And Santa Monica knows it. Now, some of you might be thinking, but KRATOS is god of war. You can't have the series without him. And you're right, you can't. But that doesn't mean he has to be the protagonist. Let me explain why Atreus works as the lead. First, unique abilities and fresh gameplay. Atreus has a completely different skill set than KRATOS. He speaks to animals and can understand them through his giant blood. He can shapeshift into animals, something we saw glimpses of in Ragnarok when he transformed into a bear and a wolf. He has access to giant magic that KRATOS simply doesn't possess. He's an archer, a summoner, a trickster. This isn't just a cosmetic change. This is a fundamental gameplay shift. Imagine a God of War game where stealth, transformation, and cunning are just as viable as brute strength. Where you solve problems by talking to a raven to scout ahead, or shifting into a snake to slip through a crack in the wall. Where combat is faster, more agile, less about tanking hits, and more about outmaneuvering enemies. That's not just different, that's exciting. Second, emotional investment. We've watched Atreus grow up. We've been with him since he was a naive boy who didn't know he was a god. We've seen him struggle with his identity, with his anger, with the weight of prophecy. We've watched him become Loki, not the villain Marvel made him, but the complex, multifaceted trickster of actual Norse mythology. Players are invested in Atreus, not in spite of his flaws, but because of them. He's impulsive, he makes mistakes, he's still learning. That makes him relatable in a way that KRATOS, the centuries-old god, can't be anymore. Third, the mythology demands it. In Norse mythology, Loki is central to everything. He's the catalyst for Ragnarok, yes, but he's also the father of monsters, the bringer of chaos, the one who walks between worlds. If Santa Monica wants to explore other pantheons, Egyptian, Mayan, Japanese, Celtic, Loki is the perfect vehicle. He's the trickster, the traveler, the god who doesn't fit in any one box. KRATOS conquered his pantheon through rage and vengeance. Atreus could explore others through curiosity, mischief, and a genuine desire to understand. It's thematically perfect. So what would an Atreus-led god of war actually play like? I think the key is duality. Not abandoning what makes God of War special, but expanding it. Character switching. The most obvious route is a dual-protagonist system, similar to what we saw in segments of Ragnarok, but expanded. You play primarily as Atreus, but Kratos is still there, either as a companion AI or as a character you can switch to during certain sections. Imagine this. Atreus is on a quest to find a hidden giant sanctuary in, let's say, the forests of Celtic mythology. Kratos has stayed behind in Midgard, training new warriors, protecting the realms. But when Atreus gets in over his head, when he awakens something ancient and dangerous, Kratos comes to his aid. You could have missions where Atreus operates solo, using stealth and cunning. Then missions where both fight together, combining Atreus' magic and agility with Kratos' raw power. The dynamic would be reversed from Ragnarok. Atreus is the leader. Kratos is the backup. Shape-shifting system. This is where things get really interesting. Atreus' shape-shifting could be the core mechanic that defines the gameplay. Imagine a system where you can transform into different animals, each with unique abilities. Wolf form, fast, stealthy, can track scents and detect hidden paths. Bear form, powerful, can break through barriers and fight multiple enemies. Raven form, flight. Scouting, reaching high places, solving environmental puzzles. Snake form, infiltration, squeezing through tight spaces, poisonous attacks. Each form could have its own skill tree, its own combat style. Boss fights could require you to switch forms strategically. Puzzles could demand creative use of different shapes. It's not just a gimmick, it's a complete reimagining of how you interact with the world. Giant magic and sonic arrows. Atreus' sonic arrows were just the beginning. As Loki, he would have access to deeper, stranger magic. Illusions that confuse enemies. Summons that call forth spirits or creatures. Runecraft that alters the environment itself. And because he's still young, still learning, this magic could be unpredictable. Maybe some spells have risk-reward mechanics. Maybe pushing too hard with giant magic has consequences, feeding into Loki's reputation as someone who causes chaos even when he means well. Exploration and discovery. An Atreus game would emphasize exploration in a way Kratos' games don't. Kratos moves with purpose, with weight. Atreus would be more curious, more willing to wander off the path. The game could have more open-world elements, more hidden secrets, more optional content that rewards exploration. Finding the giants wouldn't be a linear quest. It would be an investigation. You'd follow clues, decipher ancient texts, talk to spirits and animals, piece together the mystery of where they went and why they're hiding. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. What happens to Kratos? He doesn't disappear. He doesn't die. He becomes something more important, the legend. Think about it. Kratos' arc is complete. He's found redemption, broken his cycle, become the father he always should have been. His story doesn't need more tragedy. It needs legacy. In an Atreus-led game, Kratos would be what characters like Master Chief's Cortana or Joel from The Last of Us became, a presence that looms over the story even when not center stage. 3 possible roles for Kratos. The retired god. Kratos has settled in Midgard, living quietly, training others in the ways of controlled strength and discipline. He's become a teacher, a protector of the realms, someone other gods and mortals come to for wisdom. Atreus visits him between quests, seeking advice, and Kratos provides guidance without taking over. The reluctant ally, when Atreus' journey becomes too dangerous, when he faces threats he can't handle alone, Kratos returns. Not as the protagonist, but as the ultimate backup. The moment Kratos arrives on screen, you feel it. The music shifts. The weight returns. It's a reminder of what he represents: inevitable, unstoppable force. The ghost of the past. In a more symbolic approach, Kratos appears in visions, memories, or spiritual moments. Atreus carries his teachings, his weapons, his legacy. Kratos' voice guides him in moments of doubt. This would be the most poignant route, showing that Kratos' influence doesn't require his physical presence. Any of these roles preserves what makes Kratos special while allowing Atreus to step into the spotlight. It's not replacement, it's evolution. And honestly, there's something powerful about Kratos finally getting to rest. The man who was cursed to wander, to suffer, to destroy finally gets to be still, to be at peace, to watch his son become his own person. That's not a sad ending, that's a triumphant one. So if Atreus is the future, where does the series go? This is where things get really exciting. New mythologies. The 9 realms were just the beginning. Egyptian mythology is the most frequently rumored next destination, and it makes sense. Egypt has everything. Gods with animal forms perfect for Atreus' shapeshifting, a rich underworld duat, powerful pantheons with complex politics, and themes of death and resurrection that fit God of War perfectly. But why stop there? Celtic mythology is dark, mysterious, and unexplored in games. Japanese Shinto beliefs offer kami, yokai, and samurai aesthetics. Mayan and Aztec myths are brutal and visually stunning. Mesopotamian legends have some of the oldest gods in human history. Atreus, as Loki the Traveler, the trickster who doesn't belong to one world, is the perfect protagonist to explore all of these. Each game could visit a different mythology, with Atreus searching for giants, uncovering secrets, and getting tangled in the affairs of gods who don't know him yet. The giants' true purpose. Here's the deeper mystery. Why did the giants hide? What do they know? What are they protecting or running from? The Ynar aren't just victims of Asgard's aggression. They're seers, prophets, beings who can perceive fate itself. What if they saw something coming? Something worse than Odinar, worse than Ragnarok. What if the reason they scattered across mythologies is because they're guarding something? Or hiding from something? This could be the overarching mystery of the next saga. Atreus isn't just finding his people. He's uncovering a cosmic truth that spans all mythologies, something that connects every pantheon, every god, every realm. Loki's true nature. Finally, there's Atreus himself. He's Loki, but he's not evil. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Santa Monica has gone out of their way to humanize him, to make him more than the villain of Norse myth. But Loki's nature is chaos. It's mischief. It's disruption. As Atreus grows into his role, he'll face a choice. Does he embrace what Loki is supposed to be? Or does he define it for himself? That tension, that internal struggle, could drive the entire series. Atreus trying to be good, trying to honor his father's lessons, while the universe keeps pulling him toward his destined role as the trickster. And maybe, just maybe, the final game isn't about stopping Loki. It's about proving that even a god of mischief can choose who he wants to be. Look, I get it. Change is scary. Kratos is iconic. The thought of a God of War game without him as the main character feels wrong. But think about what made the Norse saga so incredible. It was different. It was bold. Santa Monica took a character we thought we knew completely and showed us we didn't know him at all. They could play it safe. They could make 5 more games of Kratos fighting gods in different mythologies, and those games would sell. But would they matter? Would they say anything new? Passing the torch to Atreus is the natural evolution. It's honoring Kratos' growth by letting him rest. It's trusting players to embrace a new perspective. It's acknowledging that God of War isn't just about one character. It's about the cycle of gods and mortals, fathers and sons, violence and peace. Atreus represents something Kratos never could: hope. Not the grim, bitter survival of the Ghost of Sparta, but genuine hope. The hope that the next generation can learn from the last, that they can be better, that they don't have to repeat the same mistakes. That's a powerful message, and it's one worth exploring. So, will the next God of War be an Atreus-centric game? I think all signs point to yes. Santa Monica has been building toward this since 2018. They've developed Atreus' character, his abilities, his arc. They've given Kratos closure. They've set up a world beyond the 9 realms. The question isn't if Atreus will be the protagonist. It's when. And honestly, I can't wait to see what mischief he gets into. If you enjoyed this deep dive, Make sure to subscribe to Myth Mode for more God of War theories, lore breakdowns, and mythology analysis. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comments, are you ready for the Age of Loki? Thanks for watching, Lore Hunters. Until next time, keep exploring the myths.